What if you slept? And what if in your sleep you dreamed? And what if in your dream you went to heaven and there plucked a strange and beautiful flower? And what if when you awoke you had that flower in your hand? Ah, what then? So this poem by Coleridge, written in 1834, expresses a common theme in fantasy and sci-fi and horror as well, the distinction between imagination and reality. What is the boundary? And is it as hard and rigid as we commonly think it is? Hey, fantasy fans, fellow Misfit Toys, welcome to the Imaginarium. I'm Eric Goodwin, psychiatrist with 20 years of experience, published Jungian scholar and lecturer, and debut dark fantasy author. More on that later. So the boundary between dreams and so-called reality is not as concrete as you might think. And this is a recurrent theme in sci-fi and fantasy. Lots of times we think of dreams as opposed to reality, but this idea is wrong. See, dreams aren't literally real, but they aren't really unreal because they do express truths about ourselves, our lives, and the world around us. And the brain has something called the default mode network. And it's always working in the background, trying to sort all the sensory data we get and organize it into a useful expression of meaning. It does this with visual spatial metaphors that help us consolidate memory, form social identity, regulate emotions, and plan for the future. For example, if I'm experiencing mixed feelings about my job, say, I might dream that I'm having an argument with two other strangers. But these strangers are really parts of me. So is that real? Well, yes and no. It isn't literally a memory, and those strangers aren't literally other people, but it's still reflecting a reality, isn't it? And this is how dreams connect to imaginative fiction. Fantasy novels in particular are able to express a fundamental truth about reality in metaphors like this, in a way unparalleled in other genres because there's no limits to the metaphors. They can be anything. Lots of stories, for example, play with this idea of dream events translating into waking life. In my own fantasy series, The Raven's Tale, book 1 being King of the Forgotten Darkness, link in the profile, I take this to another level, as there are two worlds. One is a near future world like ours, but with advanced AI that has eliminated all suffering and pain. But then there's the fantasy world, full of dark magic, dragons, gods, and war. And our main hero must illegally go into the fantasy world to save someone he loves. In the story, the fantasy world is very real, but it's also dreamlike. But then again, you can also ask, is the modern world the dream world and the fantasy world the real one? You be the judge. But what are you reading right now? Let me know in the comments and I'll catch you next time.